She get the cash, she drop it so fast. She on the pole, she doing the dance. I'm like, mommy, come give me that snatch. I'm like quarterback and she a hike. I don't give a every shot for she rockin' the mic. She got hands, she gon' go out of sight. Take the moon and you rock it or not. She from Melbourne and I tell her she can go get her hair permed. She can go get her nails done. Then with me and my crew, she can run. She can do little backflips. I know she gymnastics. Working money flip like ass. In the air just for practice. She like, oh man, just give me one more chance. Will you come back? I'm like, hell no. I be going to November. I'm not December.
Yo, check. Trying to make it back from the streets when it's safe. Focus on the rap game, now the flow, I got it mastered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It's another week and another episode of Who Got Game. I'm your host, Jason Zone Fisher, alongside my co-host, Baron Davis. BD is traveling this week. He will not be joining us, but we'll still be talking trash about his sorry-ass fantasy team. So this week, I want to bring in our very special co-hosts and contributors. First and foremost, the always lovely, always informed, always amazing Ashley Nicole Moss. Ashley, welcome. Thank you for being here. How you doing?
I'm excited. I'm ready to get into it. A lot has happened since we last spoke.
Absolutely. You got to be excited because the Knicks are on fire. 6 wins in a row. This is a good time to be a Knicks fan.
You already know what time it is over here. So exciting to be a Knicks fan. It's been a long time coming for us. That is for sure.
Amen. Well, we'll get into all that, but let's bring on the Hoops and Brews crew as well. We got Pavi is in the house. What's up, Pavi? How you feeling, man?
I am fine. How are you?
Good. Wow, you're fired up. You're fired up. And in a few moments, that's okay. In a few moments, we'll be joined by TPJ as well. He's doing all sorts of stuff. He's our producer extraordinaire as well. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here for another edition of Who Got Game. The NBA season is in the home stretch where now teams are jockeying for playoff positioning, trying to determine who's going to be in that play-in game this year, as it's going to be a race to get into that top 6 because 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to have to do a little bit of extra work to make it into the postseason officially. And we got a lot to talk about, but we started talking about the Knicks, Ashley. Why don't we just start there? They keep rising in the standings. Julius Randle, some people are even saying he's like an underdog MVP type candidate this year. How for real are the Knicks? Could they win a first-round series? Could they win a second-round series? Like, I don't know if they're ready to be contenders yet. What do you think?
Yeah. Listen, I think it depends on matchups, right? They say styles make fights, and I think that applies to basketball as well. I think it really depends who the Knicks would see in the first round. You know, granted, they don't have to go into a play-in, which I'm hoping we don't. I would like to stay in the seeding competition. But I think it depends. You know, there's only 2 teams in the East I quote-unquote fear, if you will, and that are the 76ers. I think that they are just a force to be reckoned with. And Miami, because we just don't match up well with them. If you look at all the times we've played them, the matchups don't work, especially because Bam and Julius Randle kind of have the same style of play. There's just nothing to kind of counteract that. But I'm not afraid of Brooklyn. I think there's a lot of holes in their game, and we've gotten pretty close against them in the games that we have seen them during the regular season. And some of it has even gone down to some really bad calls that probably shouldn't have happened. So I don't fear them. I don't fear the Bucks. I don't fear the Hawks. I don't fear Charlotte. I don't fear any of those teams. But again, it always depends on what you get first. And I think that's going to be the difference maker for the Knicks in the long run.
Wow, not impressed by the Nets or the Bucks. Okay, bring it on. Yeah. Pavi, which team in the East do you think has the best chance to perhaps upset the Nets or the Bucks or maybe the Sixers, who are kind of those top 3 seeds? Obviously, we've talked about some of the other teams. Who do you think has a chance to be this year's Miami Heat? Last year, no one was really picking the Heat to go all the way to the finals. Is there a squad in the East that's kind of wide open that you would be afraid to face?
If I had to say upset, I don't know if it's really an upset because I think they just had a lot of issues as far as health and COVID. But Boston Boston's been winning games recently. Tatum is playing something. I think he's on one of the better stretches of his career. I think they're finally figuring things out. So I would probably say Boston, even though I don't necessarily think Boston is a huge quote unquote upset for anybody. They were in the conference finals last year. But like I said, things this year just got off like really weird. Tatum had COVID before. They said the man using the inhaler before games and things like that. So again, like I said, I think they're finally getting in the swing of things, and I would say Boston would be the team that I think matches up pretty well with anybody for the most part. So Boston.
And that's a team I also don't want to face. I forgot about Boston. I've said this before, and Knicks fans think I'm crazy because we've played somewhat well against them in the regular season. Basketball changes in the postseason. The game slows down. Teams that weren't surging, back when the season started are now catching their second win, and Boston is in that category. Boston scares me. Now, the Knicks are a good defensive team, so I don't think we'd have an issue defending them, but you cannot take your foot off the defensive gas pedal when you're playing Boston. You saw what happened against that Pelicans game. They don't have nearly as much talent as Boston, and if you let that team go on a run, it's over with. So that is also a team I fear, if you will. I don't want to have to face them at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Celtics have been under the radar all season, underperforming, but if they're good enough to get into the playoffs, which they should be, you got to fear them a little bit. They're an Eastern Conference Finals team. They got Jason Tatum, who's finally clicking, Jaylen Brown, who's playing at an all-star level, Marcus Smart, who's that X factor defensively and offensively, hits threes, just does it all for them. They're a team to be reckoned with. I don't think they're going to out of the East necessarily, but they're a team that could do some damage as if they're clicking at the right time.
So you're riding the Nets wave then.
Well, I think I would say if this is today, I would pick the Nets to come out of the East. I just think if they're healthy, they just are going to have too much firepower. They're too deep with the big three of KD, Kyrie, Harden. That's crazy. And then all the role players that they have to go alongside them, guys like Joe Harris who can hit threes, Blake and DJ, and no one's really talking about it, but Spencer Dinwiddie might be coming back in the postseason. And he's an incredible player and a huge piece too.
He's coming back in the postseason?
That's what I've heard. That's what he's going to.
See, my thing with the Nets, and granted, I could be wrong, completely wrong, because they do have so much talent, but I just don't understand. To me, I get like real Clippers last year vibes. Basically, the fact of just like, I just don't understand how again, who knows, but when it comes to the basketball gods and all that stuff, I just don't think you can just show up in the playoffs and just like figure out how to play basketball and just go win a championship. I just don't think it personally works like that. Now, maybe it does. You have, like I said, great collection of scoring and talent, three quote-unquote superstars, but still, I think camaraderie and chemistry has to mean something and might come back to haunt them at some point in time.
Yeah, and even adding to that, I'll take it a step further because you look at what happened with the Miami Heat. When they first got together, that big three, there was this, this anticipation that they were going to go ahead and win the finals, their first run together. And it doesn't happen like that. You may get far in the postseason. Granted, I don't think anyone's doubting that the Nets will go ahead and be able to make a run and go deep. I mean, you have 3 all-stars. You have all-stars actually on the entire team, superstars. So it's not going to go ahead and be an issue of going far. It's going to be when you get to the conference finals, when you get to the finals, things change, the game changes, and you can't just kind of throw things against the wall and hope it sticks because you look at what's happening. 1 minute, Kevin Durant's out. Then James Harden's out. Then Kevin Durant's back, but James Harden's still out. Then Kyrie's taking a PTO day, but James Harden's, it's like they're rarely, the 3 of them are ever on the court at the same time. Now, it may work in their favor only because Kevin Durant and James Harden do have the experience of playing together. Unlike when you look at like a Clippers situation or even the big 3 in Miami, those guys came from 3 different places. But I agree with Pavi. I worry about how are you just going to go ahead and turn the Jets on when it comes to postseason. That's usually not how basketball works.
Yeah, well, welcome, TPJ. I know you got some thoughts on this. You follow the Nets pretty closely. Do you think that chemistry is going to be an issue when all 3 of their big 3 finally get healthy and take the court together at the same time in the postseason?
I've said this numerous times this year, and I mean it.
God, please don't say this
Brooklyn
again.
Nets are a second-round exit waiting to happen, and it's going to happen. And when it happens, I just want y'all to know I've been saying it from the very start. I just want the world to know. I've been saying it since the beginning of the season. This is a second round exit waiting to happen. You do not have, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to call these guys mentally weak because I don't know them personally to call them mentally weak. But you have some guys that have been shown to be mentally finicky when you need them to step up and make it happen. The only one that you actually have trust in is KD. And it seems like every time he's on the basketball court now, he's getting injured. And that is one of those things where it's unfortunate. But I honestly think that he might need to sit down for a year again and get himself together. I don't think he's healthy. I really don't.
Can you call James Harden mentally finicky, though? Because I think if you look at Houston, I think now listen, James Harden has other issues. I think, especially when it came to Houston, I think, he had a little bit of a diva mentality, especially with his off-court shenanigans, if you will. But I think when it came to the postseason, I think he ultimately gave it all that he could. He didn't have much help, but I wouldn't say he was mentally weak. I mean, he hardly missed games if he didn't have any other. Would you say he was
mentally strong?
I mean, I wouldn't say he had the Mamba mentality, but that's what separates a Kobe Bryant from, a not Kobe Bryant. But I wouldn't say he was mentally weak. He showed up. He hardly missed games. Like, he was out there giving it all that he got.
No disrespect, but participation is smooth if you are a bench player or a glue guy or whatever. If you're the superstar, you're expected to participate. You're expected to be out there every game, every day playing. And I give him mad credit for being out there every day. But that's not what I'm talking about. Showing up day in and day out is not why I say he has mental finicky moments. We've seen him implode numerous times in the playoffs. We've seen him have leads in series and not take command in close out games to close teams out. We've seen Steph Curry go in his house and score 30 plus in the second half to send them home. So, or at least I think they tied the series, right? They tied the series that day, right?
No, they went home that day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Even worse. They sent them home. So we've seen moments where I look at Harden and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Kyrie just want to hoop, but I question if Kyrie just want to hoop anymore. Like, when he's out there, he's hooping. Like, but when everything else is at play, and I hear he's taking PTO days off, taking off for his birthday, all this other stuff. Like, how much do you really care about what's going on? And like, I watched KD on $1 Million Worth of Game yesterday, and he was like, like the dog days of the NBA are like, kind of when you a team, when you're gonna be good, like those are the moments that really like separate you. And he's like, and although like people will see Draymond screaming on me, like sometimes I needed that, but I'm just a quiet guy, so like you'll never see me screaming at Draymond. But it'll be some games where I'll be just kind of doing whatever, and he'll come over and scream at me, and I'll go off for 8-14 in a row, and then he just on the bench laughing, looking like, see, I like, you know what I mean? I just don't see guys that are like, I am the guy.
But let me ask you this.
Who says I am the guy on this team?
Let me ask you this, though, then. What is the difference, just playing devil's advocate here, what is the difference between Kyrie Irving taking PTO, if you will, let's just call it what it is, right? And we're in a league now that is supposed to be pro mental health and pro taking care of yourself outside of basketball, right? What is the difference between Kyrie doing that, for whatever his personal reasons may be, that's not any of our business, than a guy being load managed? It's essentially the same thing, except one is visually in front of you. You see a guy on the bench, he's not playing. The other is a different kind of load management. It's a mental load management, your mental is just as part of your playing ability as your physical is. And if he's not mentally there, why are we criticizing him for that? It's not like he misses,
because he's getting paid $30 million a year. And I'll say this: when Kevin Love was dealing with his mental health issues, Kevin Love was out for his mental health issues. Kyrie has not been listed as being out for mental health issues. He's been aloof and a foot at whatever he's been doing. No, seriously. There's been no injury report that says Kyrie's out for mental health issues.
But he doesn't have to disclose that. That's the difference. Kevin Love chose to disclose that, which I credit him for it, because that gives hope and that shows, showcases mental health issues are real to the people who watch sports. I support that completely. But if Kyrie doesn't want to go ahead and share why he's choosing to miss a game and he wants to just list it as personal reasons, that's his business. But to go ahead, every time he's on that court, though, he still plays. If he needs to step away from the game for whatever that reason may be, what's wrong with that?
How many games have their main guys played? Do you know, Ashley? I can tell you 3. Their main guys have played 3 games altogether. That is the issue. It's not so much necessarily about Kyrie's mental health and all of that. This team has made it abundantly clear from day one that they have championship aspirations. So if you have championship aspirations, then you have to act as a champion would, and you have to power through some of those tough times. Kyrie took off 4 games 3 days before his birthday.
The modern day NBA, there's 2 seasons. There's the regular season and there's the postseason. It's almost like 2 different sports. It's the era of load management. Kawhi Leonard is a perfect example. The Lakers with injuries, not rushing back LeBron and AD. You got obviously what's going on with the Nets, only playing 3 games together, the big 3. But as long as you're healthy and ready to go in the playoffs, these elite teams, yes, I do think that chemistry, it'd be great if they were clicking all year long, but who cares? The Warriors won 7.
That's how you win a championship. That's how you win a championship. You don't win a championship like that.
If I could just interject.
You don't win a championship like that. Who wins a championship like that?
Pavi, get in there.
I actually have issues about the way the Brooklyn Nets actually play basketball. It's like, forget everything else. Like when I look at the roster, number one, they don't defend really well. So basically they're for all the points that they're gonna score, they're gonna let you score. Because they just don't defend it really well. Like if you have an Embiid, if you have a Giannis, if you have guys like that and you have other 20-point scorers on your team, you're going to score points. And then also, even you saw in the game against Miami recently, and the game against Miami, even it was a game against the Clippers that I was actually in person for, when I think they were up like 15, but then like other team gets on a run because again, they're going to let you score points. And then when it gets down to crunch time, they're just going to ISO. It's not like there's some like great transition team and they're just going to ISO. And when you ISO, that means the other 4 people are just standing there. And again, all these shots that they're gonna hit that they're gonna shoot, they can definitely hit those. But from 3, it's about a 40% chance. From 2, it's about a 50% chance. They might miss all those shots. What you saw down the stretch, granted, it was just Kyrie playing, and obviously Mike would be like, oh, KD wasn't there and Harden wasn't there, but still, what you saw, Kyrie ISO like 3 straight times, and he actually missed shots to the point where they stopped them enough to keep the game close, get it tied, and you win the game on a game winner, like what they did. So I just have issues with the way that they actually play basketball, personally.
Me too. And when this team was first put together in totality, when James Harden finally joined the team, I said, and you can go back and look at my tweets, and people wanted to say I was just a hater because I'm a Knicks fan and I'm mad I didn't get Kyrie and Kevin Durant and yada, yada, yada. I don't believe you can win championships without playing any type of defense. And if you look at the way that this Brooklyn Nets team is constructed, it's basically a shootout with every single team that they compete against. What their goal is they have some of the best shooters to ever play in the NBA, currently playing in the NBA. So what their goal is in 4 quarters in basketball, they hope that when that clock expires, that the points are in their favor, which, on paper, if you're playing street ball or you're playing a 1-game series, that may work. The odds are probably in your favor if you can put up the most points. But in a 7-game series, you cannot rely strictly on your shot because there are going to be situations the 3 ball does not fall. There are going to be situations where shots in general are just not falling. What do you have to rely on? Your defense is what keeps you in the game. That's why they say defense is your best offense when your offense is not clicking. And Brooklyn relies so heavily on their offense, which, you can't 100% blame them. Like I said, you have all this talent. You're going to focus on the points on the board. But I don't think that when the game slows down, that is conducive to winning a championship. And that is where they're going to fall short. And that is what I've said from the beginning, that this team is drastically missing. They didn't look on the other side of the ball. They completely missed the mark there.
Like, you can do it. It's just, you just have to be extremely highly efficient, which is why I said at the beginning of the year.
Name one team that's been able to do it.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, name one team that's had the scores of with the likes of James Harden.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is name one team that has won a championship without playing any type of defense.
I agree, but what I'm saying is for them, the only way I think it can be done is you have to be highly, highly efficient to the point whereas like if you shooting ball and you missing shots, now you got to get back in transition, game speeds up. But if you making it pretty much every time and you getting your defense set, it's still hard to score against a set defense no matter who you are. So it can be done. You just have to be incredibly efficient, and that is incredibly hard to do, especially when you just isoing. Like it's not like they running some crazy offensive scheme coming up. No, they're taking tough shots. So if you have good defenders who can just contest and not foul them, who knows? It can go either way. So I just have issue with that, the way they actually play basketball at times. But
I got a question for you guys. The hottest team in the NBA over the last month plus has actually been the Atlanta Hawks. Nobody's talking about the Atlanta Hawks, but since they made the coaching change to Nate McMillan, this team has skyrocketed from out of the playoff picture to, I believe, they're currently the 4th seed in the East. If we could see the Eastern Conference standings, the NBA standings, it's wild. Atlanta is up to 4th in the East, tied with Boston, above New York, right there, Miami. It's all jumbled together, and I know the East has some problems with the overall depth of talent that's there, but this is a team that has really come out of nowhere since Nate McMillan took over, and could they win a first-round series? I mean, they are hot right now. They're deep. They got Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella. They can go big. They can play offensively. They can play defense. They can go small. They're pretty versatile, a mix of veterans and young guys. And when the season started, I was like, keep an eye on the Atlanta Hawks. They're my sleeper team. And then they totally disappointed me with their performance out the gate. It made me look like a fool, but they finally gotten it together. What are you guys' feelings on a team like the Atlanta Hawks?
May I go first?
Yes. Wow, you're so polite when you ask. Now get real.
I got 2 words. Yeah. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
So they cannot win a series. They're a first round.
Hell no.
All right.
Hell no.
All right. Ashley, what do you think? You got more than 2 words? What do you think?
I mean, not in those words. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I think I can understand what he's saying. I think right now, again, you have to look at the demographics of the East versus the West. It's still, although the East is starting to catch up in the teams that are competitive, there's still a huge discrepancy of talent in the East. You know, you have the top dogs, and then you have some surprises in the middle, and then you have everyone else on the bottom. I think Atlanta right now is surging in the East, but that's not saying much when it comes to an actual playoff series where you're competing against the same team for a certain amount of games. I think Atlanta's going to struggle with the fact that they still are missing key components to what could make them a serious contender and to go deep into the playoffs. Now, I know we were just talking about Brooklyn and they're missing a lot, but the Atlanta Hawks don't have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. That's a difference maker, unfortunately, when you're talking about, going far in the playoffs. Because, you do have Trae Young, great shooter, but it's just not enough. So I think there are ways away, but I agree. I think it's impressive, and I think it shows how much a coaching change can be a difference maker in a team. You see that Trae Young, a different coach can really bring different qualities out of your superstar on your team, in this case, Trae Young. And it's going to be interesting to see what that does for his development as a player, because he's still so young. He hasn't even hit his threshold yet. And that's going to be fun to watch, that trajectory. I just don't think it's going to happen this season.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I think this experience is invaluable for their young core getting better and building for the future, that they will be a team and a franchise to keep an eye on in the Eastern Conference for years to come.
Do they have a real number one option?
Yeah, I think Trae Young. I think Trae Young could be a number one option.
That pause before you answered is all the answer I needed. Do the Dallas Mavericks have a number one option?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't have a number one option. And Pappy, you actually pointed it out to me, and ever since you said it, I haven't been able to unsee it. So blame yourself. Once you told me Trae Young is not a number one option, I was like,
no. My thoughts on the Hawks are this. Number one, am I that impressed right now? No, they should have been doing this from the beginning. I think they would have been doing this from the beginning of the season. But you had a lot of guys that were hurt. You had you one had guys that were hurt. Two, you also had like just a weird seniority thing. Like you pay Gallo $70 million, but you got young guys that you trying to like groom and like DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish, and you also go out and get Bogey. I don't know why they signed Bogey. I didn't think that was necessary when you have Porter.
To piss off the Bucks. That's why.
Yeah,
what do you mean? Bogey's been killing it over the past 8 games. He's been averaging over 20. What are you talking about?
Yes, but that's because Cam Reddish is out. DeAndre Hunter is out. When all these guys come back, and again, you drafted these guys very high. These were all top 10 picks. I think. Listen, hold on. Listen, I think.
Bruce, so I'm chilling.
Listen, I wasn't Cam Reddish the other part of the Luka deal? So I'd assume that you kind of got some invested in the man. That's the other part of the deal. So I think Atlanta was in a very weird situation. Again, they were hurt. Also, Clint Capella. I said Clint Capella could be an all-star last year. Now, granted, he wasn't an all-star last year, but Clint Capella has been playing lights out the past, I don't know, month and a half. So I'm not that impressed by the Hawks. Do I think they could win a first-round series? Sure, depending on who they play. Like if they end up playing the Knicks, I would watch that series.
They're not taking my Knicks. You're out of your mind.
No, listen.
We would lock them up. Don't come at me crazy. Don't do that. No,
but listen. But listen.
I'm sorry, but I gotta bring it back to Hoops and Brews.
Okay. You do good though. I'll watch that series.
I gotta find it now.
You're lying.
Just play it. You heard it? Okay, good.
Yeah, but no, you heard it. But no, I would watch the now. If they play Boston, I don't think that they can beat Boston. You do good though. Sure, some other teams maybe, but am I that impressed by the Hawks? No.
You do good. But what you just said was that if they played the Hawks, he just asked you, do you think they could win a series? And you said, I think it depends on who they face. And you named the Knicks. You think that they could take a series against the New York Knicks the way we play defense? I would lock them up. They couldn't get a shot up on me.
Maybe.
No, you're out of your mind.
The reason I say this is because you're talking about two. The reason I say because you're talking about two teams that obviously the Knicks do have some experience with like D Rose and guys like that, but you're still talking about two pretty young, inexperienced teams. Anything could happen in that scenario.
I'm not gonna let you do the New York Knicks like that. I refuse to let you do that to us because you know what? When it comes to a team like Atlanta, you have Trae Young, yes, but we have Derrick Rose, Julius Randle. I have RJ Barrett. If I get Alex Burks back, and the way we lock you up on defense, you think that you have a problem shooting against some other teams? It's not going to happen. We would lock you up. We would force you to drive it in the paint, and we would bully you and block you every chance you got there. 1999 style. 1999. Nope. You drive 90 style. We would be bullying you in the paint every time you drive it there because we were one of the best teams. We are one of the best teams in defending the 3-ball, first of all. So that locks up that entire part of your offense. You come into the paint, we're going to block you every single time. Do not do my New York Knicks like that, Patty. I love you, but you're not going to try my squad like that.
Coming in the paint. Sir. I'm throwing lobs to Clint Capella. We also got John Collins. We have a very, very athletic front line. We also have guys who can score in the half court, like a Bogey, like a Gallo. I think it'll be a good matchup. That could be a 6-7 game series. I'd watch it.
I hope this is the matchup because we'll have you on
I think it'd be a good series. You do good though.
I think the Hawks are a deep team, and if they could make some moves, maybe in the offseason, consolidate some of that talent, because in the postseason you need a good, strong 7, maybe 8 guys. The Hawks are deep. They've got 11 guys on their roster who are solid players, but not all of them are going to get minutes when you start talking about Kevin Huerter and Hunter and Reddish and Gallinari and Capella and Collins and Bogey and Trae Young. I mean, not everyone's going to be able to eat. I feel like they've got the pieces, but they need to consolidate them, get a little stronger, put them together. Wow. The comments saying you're a Knicks homer, Ashley. You're
damn right I am. Like I don't make no secret that I'm a Knicks homer. You are absolutely right. But you know what? I'm a Knicks realist also. I will never say that we can take somebody we can't. I'll never say that we're championship contenders.
Y'all play the Nets in the second round. Y'all beat the Nets in the second round. Remember I said it.
Okay.
I'm not playing. The Bulls.
Bro,
or the Knicks, they play the Nets,
bro. The Bulls not making the playoffs.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Just because you're from Chicago and you're not a Chicago fan don't mean nothing. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
No, they are not.
Yes, we are. The Bulls keep losing to sorry teams. They should be winning games.
No, they got, bro.
TPJ, they should be winning, but they're not.
They shouldn't be winning games.
All-stars.
And
they shouldn't be winning games. They shouldn't be winning games.
This sweater is available right now at at hoopsandbrews.com/merch. Feel free to go get your merch. Sorry, somebody.
Okay,
I saw the fans.
Always
we're not getting sent home in this play-in.
Bulls not
Zach
making the
LaVine
play-in, bro.
and Vucci man.
Zach LaVine is out
Zach
right now.
LaVine,
Guys, not
I
Hoops and
don't
Brews.
care.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
need you to
care.
bring it down.
Zach LaVine and Vucci man.
Yeah,
Relax.
calm down, TPJ.
Relax.
Just because you're loud about who's on the team doesn't mean they're winning games. They're good, but they're not winning.
V and
They're not
Z,
winning.
V and Z, we in the building. V and Z, we in the building. Vucci man and Zach LaVine, we in the building. We coming for whoever coming. If you coming for us, we coming for you.
All right, I'm gonna just while you're doing that talk, I'm gonna look at who they played last week because I think you lost to like the Minnesota Timberwolves or some sorry ass team.
We gotta get used to the chemistry.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't have much time.
The issue is they don't.
Granted, Miami did lose to the Timberwolves. The Knicks lost. They sneak up on you sometimes.
That's no, they lost to the Orlando Magic. Is who they lost to. Wendell Carter Jr. His former team, and Vucevic lost to his former team.
The LA Clippers lost to the Orlando Magic at home too. I don't want to hear it.
The Magic
The Magic are a sneaky, terrible team.
The Magic
they are terrible. But that is a perfect segue to the Western Conference because the Clippers are this team that still perplexes me. Last year, they were my pick to win it all. I thought the Clippers were going all the way, and they disappointed us. Obviously.
You and everybody else, Jake.
Yeah, this year they're not most people's pick because of what they did to everyone in the bubble last year and let us down. But they are a team, and I know TPJ and Patty, you've been going to a lot of games. You cover the squad. It's interesting to me. One night they look like a championship team, and the next night they lose to the Orlando Magic. They are so inconsistent, it drives me crazy. Which version of the Clippers are we going to get when the postseason comes around?
I'll let you know when they play the Lakers on May 5th.
They not really that. They not really that.
Is that on a Taco Tuesday?
I don't know, but I do believe Anthony Davis should be back by then and should have.
I'm just saying it's Cinco de Mayo. It'd be dope if it was a Taco Tuesday also.
Hey, I hope so. Shit, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. COVID tested up, but oh yeah. By the way, Jason, if you want to cover any games, now they're making us get COVID tested. So on days when I can't go get COVID tested before the games, you can cover any of these games.
I would love that. It's good. Maybe we'll talk about this when we're not on the air, but I'll do that. Yeah, for sure. Like, what are you doing for dinner later? All right.
I'm fully vaccinated, so
we got vaxxed up. All right.
I'm vaxxed up.
Me
Pfizer
too.
gang.
Me too.
I ain't vaccinated. I'm gonna keep a G with you, but I'm gonna save my vax comments for another time.
Oh yeah, we could go into that topic of convo. You got a title card for that? The vaccine debate, if you want.
We can if you want to.
My thing about the Clippers is actually the Clippers have the best offense in the NBA. Actually, shocking, but they do have the best offense in the NBA. That literally they have no unrated offense in the league. This is facts currently right now. My issue with them was always defense. They were 18th about like 2 months ago. Now they're 10th. I think that to be able to win, you usually need to be top 10 in both offense and defense. And I just think Rondo brings a whole nother element to this basketball team. Like the team they were before Rondo and after Rondo is like completely different. I've asked them about Rondo many times. They said the main thing he helps with is just communication. The issue with the Clippers is I don't think they had many very vocal guys. I mean, Pat is a vocal guy, as in Pat Beverly, but Pat's vocal and Rondo's vocal. Rondo
Serge
was
is
arguably
vocal.
Yeah, but is Serge the basket? This is not no disrespect to Serge, but is he the basketball mind that Rajon Rondo is? They say Rondo be out there just like look, Rondo be on the bench like he the coach calling out stuff. He be on the floor literally. They were playing against Phoenix. They said, I knew that play was coming because I saw him running last night, so I just called it out.
Yeah, like he's another coach on the floor.
He's another, and he brings just a different element to their defense. He just makes sure everybody is in the right place. And my whole thing with this Clippers team was their defense. I thought that they would be better the past 2 years defensively, but what I didn't realize was they usually always had two bad defenders in their backcourt. So no matter what their like front court was, their backcourt, especially when they went to the bench, was usually Lou Williams and Reggie Jackson. No disrespect to them, but neither one of them are great defenders. Now, and then also last year they would have Trez back there, who Trez, he can rim protect at times, but as far as him being a great defender, being able to be mobile, that's really not what he is. This year, really, when they're on the court, most times, not any really bad defenders. And if it is, they're surrounded by four good ones, so it kind of lessens that impact because you can't just go at them. But to me, this Clippers team, they look real, they look serious. I think they're a legitimate finals contender. If I had to tell you somebody who's going to be in the conference finals right now, my pick would honestly be Jazz Clippers. And that's what I'm sticking with. And I love this Clippers team. I think that – what's up?
How?
What
With
you mean,
Donovan Mitchell tweaking his ankle. It's a wrap for them, G. It's a wrap for them.
He's not out for the season.
Yeah,
It doesn't
he's not-
matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He got to be 110%.
He's not. Look,
He got to be 110% in order
I
for
think
them
you're
to get to the conference
underestimating.
finals. They're going to lose to the Warriors. They play them in the first round. Remember, I said that too.
What?
Remember, I said that.
I don't know
Steph Curry
about
gonna
that.
average
I think
35 in a series.
I feel
I'm
like
not.
you're severely underestimating this Jazz team. Look, I'm not gonna go ahead and sugarcoat it. The Jazz have been very fortunate to have a relatively healthy season. All their guys have been able to stay healthy. They've had the privilege of being able to play together consistently, which showcases in the standings of where they are. There's a saying, I don't know if people believe it or not, that your real season doesn't start until you have to deal with some adversity. This is their adversity. It happened at the worst possible moment because you're 3 weeks out from the postseason. I agree with that. But I think this is also going to showcase if this team is the real deal. Can you hold it down without Donovan Mitchell? Everybody wants to talk about how deep this team is. Even with Donovan Mitchell, obviously he's included in that conversation. But even if you remove it, people still talk about how deep this team is. Rudy Gobert is a 2-time defensive player of the year. I mean, this is a team that's not filled of scrubs. It's not filled of no names. You have a bunch of guys in there that should be able to hold down the fort until Donovan Mitchell gets back. They're far enough in the standings where it's going to take somebody going on a full surge. I think the Suns are 3 games back, roughly?
I think so, yeah.
Like 3 games back. I mean, you should be able to maintain that lead. And if not, you should be able to just constantly teeter back and forth between that 1 and 2 spot if you do go on a losing streak until Donovan Mitchell gets back. I think you're severely underestimating the depth and the talent on this Utah Jazz team. I don't think that's fair to say.
Well,
To me, as long as Rudy Gobert is healthy, they'll be fine.
That's how I feel. I feel like you're
Right.
severely underestimating the depth of this team, the talent on this team alone. Like, I know Rudy Gobert doesn't get the same respect or, that some other people get, like a Ben Simmons or things like that. They don't get he doesn't have the same fan base, perhaps. Maybe it's because he coughs on a microphone and people are still annoyed by that. I don't really know. But
that's probably a big reason. He shouldn't
Hey,
have
it's
did that.
No, it's because he plays in Utah. And
I just think he's also not. No, I think also people just don't like him. He's just not likable to some people. That's just. I just think that people. I don't have I'm saying I don't have an issue with him. I think people have. People gauge how they feel about players, not only what they do on the court, but their likability. And that's all players.
He was the last pick in the All-Star draft. Him and Donovan Mitchell, the last 2 picks. I mean, even amongst the players, doesn't get a lot of credit, not so popular, but I do think the Utah Jazz have a chip on their shoulder. That was an incredible first-round series last year, losing to the Denver Nuggets in 7 games, where they were up 3-1, and they should have won that series. They're going to remember that come the postseason, especially if they're the number 1 seed, and they could go far. I think Mitchell will be healthy by the time the postseason rolls around. It's just how far will they go? How real are they? I don't know. That's the question. I think they're going to make it out of the first round. Maybe, probably even the second round, but can they beat the Lakers or the Clippers or the Suns or the Denver Nuggets, the team they lost to last year, another team who faced a lot of adversity because a week ago tonight, Jamal Murray tore his ACL with just a minute left in the game, too. The game was out of hand. I was watching it live. It was just, you hate to see that happen. And they had been playing so well after acquiring Aaron Gordon and really feeling like they were an NBA title contender. But with Jamal Murray out for the rest of the year, what do you guys think? Do they have any shot? I mean, did that just drop them out of title contention?
I think they still have a shot. Again, like, would I pick them? No. But I think one thing it does leave room for is Michael Porter Jr. You talking about a guy who 4 years ago was I think the number 1 player in his high school class. He got hurt at Missouri, had literally back issues, was the reason why he failed to 15th. Other than that, he's probably number 1 pick in the draft 3 years ago. I think it opens up room for him. He's also having a very incredibly efficient season. I remember even saying 2 years ago, before Jamal Murray hit the bubble and had his performance, like, Jamal Murray needs to take less shots so Michael Porter Jr. can shoot. Well, now Michael Porter Jr., I'm assuming, is going to get a lot more opportunities to put up a lot more shots. So we'll see. I think it opens room for Will Barton. They still have Jokic. To me, I think as long as they have Jokic on the court, they can manage. Obviously, Jamal Murray's a guy. You saw what happened in the bubble. He can light up and get you 40. That remains to be seen if that's going to happen when fans in the stands and when we're more in a regular time and not like, you know, in the bubble. But I think they have a chance. But I pick them to win the championship? No. But I think they have a chance. I think they can manage and at least be a second round team.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. It's kind of the same conversation with the Jazz, except a lot worse because he's missing the remainder of the season. But there's a lot of depth on that team. And I think the acquisition of Aaron Gordon will make a difference. I do think, though, it's unfortunate because Jamal Murray kind of hit a stride in his career in that bubble. I mean, he was playing some of his best basketball, and that went ahead and transitioned into this season, right? And Denver was one of my picks that could possibly upset a team like the Lakers or the Clippers or anybody that they had to face in the first round. I don't think any team really wanted to have to deal with them the way that they were playing. So it's unfortunate. Again, it's the conversation of, did the league rush this season? Did they, plan this correctly with all these makeup games and these games and back to back? And, that's a different conversation in itself. I don't think that was completely thought through, playing in the middle of a pandemic, what that would mean if you did get positive COVID tests, if you did have to do tracing, which ultimately ended up being the case. And now you're in a situation where these guys are gassed. I mean, you look at a team like the Miami Heat. In 50 days, I think they played 27 games with no more than one rest day in between them. That's insanity. Like, these guys are gassed at all the wrong moments in time, which is, I think, leading to these injuries. But this is going to show what the Denver Nuggets are made of. Can you go ahead and rise above in adversity? Yes, you lost the player, but next man up. What are you going to do? It's going to be interesting to see that. I can't hear you.
Well, I'm sorry. For me personally, I'm just gonna pull up Jokic's graphic.
Yeah, MVP.
I mean, look at these numbers. I know we're gonna talk about MVP in a second, but I think he's without a doubt, to me, the MVP of the league this year. And I think that his game doesn't depend upon Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's game depends upon Jokic. And I think that's the difference, and that will be the difference for this team going forward, is that Jokic can empower other people and make other people better. I just think in the playoffs, he's gonna have to take it up another notch. Which that's my thing with Giannis. Giannis puts up great numbers in the regular season, and he has amazing regular season numbers, and he wins MVPs. But then when the playoffs come, he never turns it up a notch. I think it was Charles Barkley who said it the other night on TNT. That Giannis has never had a great playoff series where you said Giannis has won you that series, and I agree. And I think Jokic has done that numerous times. So I think this year, without his sidekick, he's going to have to take that up even a higher notch. I'm looking at in order for them to get to where they want to get to, which I think they can honestly get to the final still without Jamal Murray. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to have to average 18 to 20 in the playoffs, and I think Jokic is going to have to average like 30, 14, and like 10. And if he can do that, which I honestly think he can, especially because the game will slow down, the rebounds will be there. I think they have enough, bench scoring off the bench. I also think they added Austin Rivers as well. So they have another scoring guard that can just come off and just like get points, which I'm not a huge Austin Rivers fan, but
don't get me started on Austin.
No, it's
Rivers.
fine. It's fine. I'm not a huge Austin Rivers fan, but when it comes to the playoffs and just knowing how to show up for a moment, he does that. And that's all they'll need is one random moment where Austin Rivers come in the game, give you 8, and then you take him out before he does something numbnuttish. And I think they'll be fine. I honestly think that they're still my favorite in the West, other than the Lakers, if the Lakers aren't healthy. The Clippers are third or fourth on my list this year.
As somebody who knows Austin Rivers somewhat well because he was on the Knicks, don't expect a superstar performance against him unless you're playing the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, but you don't have anyone on your team as good as Nikola Jokic. You don't have a passer on your team as good as Nikola Jokic.
I'm not even talking about that. He only performs well in Utah for some reason. Otherwise, it's non-existent. So don't get your hopes up.
They might play Utah.
That's not exactly. And I hope they play Utah.
Then you're going to get 25.
I pray they play Utah.
I'm telling you.
I hope they play Utah.
There's something about that Utah air with him. I
want to see Utah and the Nets lose as soon as possible.
Well, it sounds like you guys are saying you can't count out the Nuggets because they've got potentially the MVP in Nikola Jokic. And for me, I'm just worried at the end of a game when you need to get a bucket, Jamal Murray seemed to be that guy even more than Jokic in the postseason. And
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
I don't know. It seemed like
Jokic takes game winners all the time.
He does. Absolutely. He hits game winners, but a fast points end of the
who can
game.
guard him,
always
though?
seemed to be the guy to
No,
do
Michael
that.
Porter Jr.
You got Porter.
Jr.
You
Michael
got
All right,
Porter.
well,
You got Porter, and you have Barton. Don't count out on Will
All
Barton.
right, it's a lot on his shoulders. We'll see. Now talking
And
about
you got
Jokic,
Millsap off the bench, which
Okay.
he's been on. No, wait a minute, stop.
yeah, they'll wheel him out there.
Wait a
They'll wheel him
minute.
out.
He's been on the cooler the whole year. In the
Yeah,
playoffs,
he's
y'all-
he's on
wait a
ice.
minute. He been on the cooler this whole year. He's older. I didn't really no reason for you to rush him out there and play him a ton of minutes. He's still coming off the bench in the playoffs. I look for him to have numerous good series in a row, kind of equivalent to what David West did when he was playing with the Warriors that for those 2 years in the playoffs, where it wasn't always necessarily big and flashy numbers, but he would come off randomly and give you 10 or 12 and 7 or 6 rebounds, and that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. Also, he's got a lot of playoff experience, and he's just a gamer. Like Paul Millsap has never been somebody I've been a huge fan of, but for some reason, when you need him to step up and be a second or a third or a fourth option, he does that. It's just too many times, especially in Atlanta, he was asked to really be the number one option, which that's not what he is.
Yeah, no, Paul Millsap is a very talented basketball player. If he can give them 18 minutes a game in the postseason of solid play, I think that's another piece that will definitely help.
Versus the Jazz, he can play. He Favors will be on the floor. They have Ilyasova, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be able to find minutes on the floor. It's just, will he be able to actually score points? Because I think he can defend. I just don't know if he still has the offensive motor that he used to have, where he could just reasonably go out and give you 15 on any given night. I don't know if he can do that anymore. That's the only issue for them.
I'm not sure either. Well, Nikola Jokic, we're talking about him probably in the lead position in the MVP race. But who else could be this year's MVP? We even mentioned someone like Julius Randle, but we got Joel Embiid, who's been in the conversation. He was out with injury. Everyone wrote him off, but he's back and playing extremely well. Luka, his numbers
Why
are great,
is he on here?
But
look, I love my
Dallas
son.
is losing games.
I love my
son.
Even. I love my son.
They're losing games to bad teams
who
right now.
His name in the run of show. Was it you or was it Pat?
You know
it was me, but I went off of what the NBA awards chatter, the Vegas rankings say. Luka is still the third favorite to win MVP.
Vegas, guess what?
You do good dope.
You do good dope. Y'all doing good dope. I love Luka, but no. And honestly, I'll shout out to Glasses Malone, because actually when we was having that conversation, he was talking about KP. It's like, damn, KP's numbers have been pretty good, but they only win when KP plays well. That's my only issue with them. Even when they lost versus the Kings, like Luka was kind of on fire, but KP was kind of meandering around, and then De'Aaron Fox was just able to, which also De'Aaron Fox has the most fourth quarter points in the NBA this year. And he's top 3 or top 5, I believe, in free throw shooting this year, which is incredible. He was slicing and dicing them up as usual. If KP is not good, the Mavericks aren't good. That's why Luka is not the MVP to me.
Yeah, Ashley, who's your MVP this season?
Well, first of all, I think if you're going to put Luka in the conversation right now, I'm looking at the standings. The Mavericks are 30-26. I think you have to go ahead if you're going to give that to him, even him putting him, even him in the conversation. Why is Julius Randle not there? Because if you look let me make my case. I'm just going to play devil's advocate, because if you look at the standings, you have Damian Lillard, who was on that list. Right now, the Trailblazers are 32-24. You have Luka, who's on the list. The Mavericks are 30-26. The Knicks are 31-27. That's not much of a difference record-wise. So if you're going to go ahead and put Luka in the conversation, Dame Lillard in the conversation, there were even some people who said Steph Curry should be in the conversation, despite where the Warriors are in the seeding. Then
who has a better team, Julius Randle or Steph Curry?
Hold on a second. Hold on. That's okay, but here's the thing.
That's a great question. I don't really know.
Here's the thing right now.
What you just
I don't really know. All
right. Hey, let Ashley finish the thought here before you get on that different
listen, here's why. This is what the issue I have with this MVP conversation. We pick and choose the criteria on what makes an MVP, right? If it's going to be just a regular MVP, whoever is in the top dog and who's the most important player on that team, fine. But Joel Embiid's on a really good team. The 76ers are number 1. Right. But then you go ahead and on the other side of the conversation, people say you can't be an MVP on a quote unquote losing team or a team at the bottom of the playoff standings. But if MVP is the most important player on a team, why do the standings matter? Because the Warriors are technically not even in the playoffs; they're in the play-in.
But
Trailblazers
Julius
are
Randle
at the
is
bottom.
he's like not even probably top 50 in terms of just being an efficient player this year. Like,
what?
I'm being honest with you. Like, I mean,
You're out
like,
of your mind.
how am I out of my mind? I'm dead ass. He got a
Julius,
19.9
if
PER.
If MVP is the most important player on a team, Julius Randle is the sole reason the New York Knicks are number 6 right now in the East.
Thibodeau is.
No, Tom Thibodeau is not up for MVP. Thomas, that's not how that works.
Thibodeau
the coach is not up for the
coach is
We're
the MVP of that team. I've watched that coach for years. He drug Ronnie Brewer and Keith Bogans.
Why didn't Steve Kerr win it when the Warriors weren't? Then why didn't Steve Kerr win it?
Because Tom Thibodeau coach for coach, if in terms of X
why
and
are you
O.
discredit? But here's what you're doing: you're discrediting a player and their contribution to a team.
I'm not discrediting
everybody.
I'm not.
Fans
I'm not.
Of basketball,
but you're just a
fans
Knicks fan.
You're just a Knicks fan. No, I'm not. Let me finish. Don't come. I didn't cut you off when you were speaking. Don't come.
Go ahead.
It's not about being a Knicks fan. It's about the conversation. You're discrediting a player who is the most important piece of the team that is currently sitting at number 6. The coach is not up for the award. It's just not. So whether or not you want to credit Thibodeau for what the Knicks are looking like, I'm not discrediting that. He has been a huge difference maker on the New York Knicks, but he is not up for the award. The player is. And all I'm simply saying, if Dame Lillard's in the conversation with the Portland Trailblazers being at 6, if Luka's in the conversation with the Mavericks being at 7, if people are going to talk about Steph Curry being in the conversation with them not even being in the playoffs, they're in the play-in right now, then you have to give that same respect to Julius Randle. And the only reason people are not is because he plays for the New York Knicks. Because if you look at his numbers and you look at his contribution to the team, he shouldn't be as much in the conversation as any of the other guys that I just mentioned. That's all.
If that's the case, put Trae Young in there then. Put Bogey in there then. No. He's not even top 5.
Randle is
even LeBron got more of a claim to MVP than Julius Randle, and LeBron ain't played in a month. Julius
Randle is.
I respect the Knicks and what they've done this year, but that is a Tom Thibodeau team. If I have ever seen one, I spent half a decade plus watching Tom Thibodeau teams. This is just what he does. He takes a bunch of ragtag guys. He finds one guy with a little bit of skill. He exploits that as much as he can, and the rest of the ragtag guys play at their maximum level.
Who's a little bit of skill?
Same thing with Joakim Noah.
Who's the little bit of skill? No, Randle. Who's the little bit? Julius Randle's a player with a little bit of skill.
Randle is a second or a third option on any top level team in the NBA.
Oh my God.
Period. He's not a number 1. He's only a number 1 on the Knicks. Zion said he want to come to he liked playing in the Garden. The Knicks fans like, yo, give me Zion right now. No, he's not. No, G.
Thomas.
No.
I'll tell you this. Julius Randle's not winning the MVP award. I'm sorry, Ashley. He's not.
No, he's not. He's not. I'm saying, but based on the criteria of the people that we just mentioned, where they are, he should be in the conversation too. If that's what the rules are, that's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree with you. He's averaging nearly 24 points a game, 11 rebounds, over 6 assists. He's getting triple doubles night in and night out. He's playing extremely well. He really is. He's putting up the stats and the numbers. He's not going to win the MVP. I do think the MVP race, to take it back to that, is probably going to come down to Jokic and Embiid. And I think Jokic is going to win. But this season in particular, it seems like it's not just who's the best player. It's who was the healthiest, who was the luckiest player to be healthy and play. Jokic has played every single game. At different points in the year, we've talked about Giannis as MVP, Embiid, LeBron, Anthony Davis earlier in the year. Guys have not been able to stay healthy, and Jokic is still out there, and I think he's going to win kind of by default. Not to discredit the season he's having, but because his main competitors for the award just have not been able to stay on the court. Is there anyone else? Do you think, Pavi, that Embiid could still win the MVP award?
At first I said no, but I mean, with the way he's been playing recently, I mean, he's becoming hard to discount. I mean, it seems like the Sixers are gonna, I think stay at number 1 in the standings. So, but no, my pick would be Jokic. But I mean, if we're going like second or runner up, yeah, But my top 5 MVP is going to be different than probably anybody on this list.
According to Thomas, he's not playing well. Doc Rivers is. So Doc Rivers should get the award.
Who's not playing well?
Embiid.
No, Joel Embiid doesn't deserve it.
Embiid doesn't deserve the award. Give it to Doc Rivers because that's the difference maker.
He missed too much time, and Doc Rivers is not the difference maker. They were as good last year. They just haven't been healthy.
Whoa.
Come on.
Come on. Say about Doc.
Come on.
I do think Doc deserves some consideration of Coach of the Year. I think Quinn Snyder should win the award hands down. But I do think Doc Rivers deserves some credit for what the Sixers are doing because they weren't playing like this last year. Like Tobias Harris was not having this type of season last year that he's having this year.
How is that any different than what I said?
No, Tom Thibodeau was the coach of the year. He is. He's done the most with the league. He's done the most with the league.
Jazz. Nobody
I just asked you. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. One second. I just asked you who got a better team, the Knicks or the Warriors. You said I don't know. That's pretty. You think the Warriors got a great team?
In the East, they would have a better record than what they got in the damn West. That team ain't bad.
Barely. They're 28-29. They literally would be the 9th seed right now. Exactly where they are. What are you talking about?
Listen.
What are you talking about?
They would have more wins if that
Look
team
up your stats.
They would have more wins if that team played in the Eastern Conference, bro.
But I don't understand. Pappy, explain to me the difference here because
what's up?
You just said out of your own mouth that Doc Rivers is a big part of the difference maker in the 76ers because players on the team were not having the same type of season. This team as a whole was not playing the same way. I'm not discrediting that Tom Thibodeau did a lot for the Knicks. It's the same situation, but how come Embiid then gets recognition for being MVP? But when I say Julius Randle, if we're going to go ahead and put Damian Lillard
infinitely better this year,
if we're going to go ahead and put Dame Lillard and Luka in the conversation, why is Randle's success solely based on Tom Thibodeau, but the 76ers is not based solely on Doc Rivers? That's not fair.
Here's why. First of all, this is why this is why I preface my whole thing about my MVP standards are different. Number one, I think it would be Jokic. Then I would go Embiid. Then I would actually go Kawhi. Actually, at third, I would actually go Kawhi third. Then after that, you got like Rudy Gobert, you got Chris Paul, you got Donovan Mitchell. Because the way we award,
I like Chris Paul for MVP. Actually, because again, it's the way we award the award. The only reason Russ won it as a 6 seed is because he did something literally Dr. King was allowed the last time a man did it, and ain't nobody besides him did it. To me, it seems historically you have to be one of the best teams in the NBA, have a really good season, or you have to do something historic that we haven't seen in a while. Julius Randle is not doing something historic that we haven't seen in a while to the point where I'm going to put him
not at all.
But listen,
let me just make this clear real quick. I never said he should win it. Let me make that very clear.
I never said he should
win it. I'm saying if you have Dame Lillard and Luka who are in the same seeding in a different conference, then why is Julius Randle's success solely based on the coach and not on his own accord is my question.
Listen to what I said, though. Did I name either of them in my top 5?
I'm not saying you did. I'm basing it on the list that was posted up here.
I mean, I don't know why that.
No.
That's my question to everybody. If 6 and 7 in the West are okay to go ahead and be mentioned for MVP, why are the rules different for 6 in the East? That's my question.
Because the East is the worst conference, and we all know it. Let's stop it. We're not picking and choosing. We're just talking facts, G. The facts is the East has been a basura for the past 12 years. Julius Randle averaging 23 and 10 is pedestrian. And there are other guys in the league that can do that. He is not that great this year. He's played well. The team has played well. But that's a super reach, G. He's not even.
Why is Luka in the conversation?
I just literally said Luka's not in the conversation. I literally just said Luka does not belong on that board.
According to Vegas, the conversation.
No. You were talking about us. I said Luka does not belong in that conversation. He has not been that good this year. Randle has not been that good this year. Dame, wait a minute. Before Dame got CJ and Norman Powell back, CJ missed most of the season. He been out there playing without Nurkic. There's no Whiteside this year. They've been injured all year long. Like Dame is rightfully in this consideration because his team has been injured. Randall's team ain't been injured. They just a bunch of ragtag guys that are playing well, and that's good. I give them props, but MVP? No. Coach of the year? Cool. The coach did a great job.
Let me just tell you, during
23 and 10 deserve to be MVP.
23-10 during this current 6-game win streak. Let me just read some of the stat lines Julius Randle's put up over the last 5 games. Last night, he had 33 points, 10 assists, 5 boards, 5 steals. The night before, 44 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, a steal and a block. The night before that, 32 points, 8 and 5, 34, 10, 4, 2 steals and a block, 26, 8 and 5. He is doing this night in and night out.
I mean, you could probably pull up
those are big
numbers. I mean, you could probably pull up
Jeremy Grant been doing that too.
Okay.
Jeremy Grant been playing his ass off.
We beat the Mavericks. We put Luka in the blender. So
yeah,
it's not those numbers are not solely based on playing East teams. Those are playing teams that are also in the West in what you call the tougher conference, which it is, also with players that are in contention for the MVP race based on certain standings and certain betting odds and things like that. So all I'm simply saying, I'm not saying Julius Randle again. Let me reiterate this. I don't think Julius Randle should win MVP. I agree with this. I think he should win MIP. I think he is most improved. I'm simply saying that it's like the saying, what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. You can't pick and choose what an MVP caliber season looks like or player looks like. And what you can't do, and what I don't like when people do this, you can't discredit a performance that a player who had a terrible season the year before. Okay. And Julius Randle's career, look at the career that he has had. Do not discredit what a player is doing on the court, Julius Randle or any other player, and attribute it solely to the coach that he has. That is not fair. That is discrediting what these players do on the court day in and day out, what they do off the court, what they do in practice, what they go through mentally, physically.
Man,
that's not fair, and I don't like that.
Lou Dort is not good. Lou Dort shooting 30 times a game is because his coach is letting him shoot 30 times a game. Let's come on, man. And Jeremy Grant actually deserved that more of a Randle.
We could debate this forever. Now, the NBA playoffs are around the corner, but the fantasy playoffs for all of our fantasy basketball fans are just beginning for many of us, including our league. Ashley, we got to get you in this league next year. Baron Davis put together this league of friends, commentators, celebrities, a bunch of us. It's hard to see that graphic, but let's see the standings because I do have the second best record in the entire league.
You want me to tell you who plays in the standings? In the first round right now, it's America's Most Wanted versus A. Donish for the first round game. Then it's the sports team, I believe it is, versus
Sports Page.
I'm sorry. Then it's the Sports Page versus Cuban Snooze. Then we have Pavi versus the LeBrons.
That's Jerry.
Then we have you versus
Entourage, and I'm taking on Zach Maybloom. That is
and then the toilet bowl. I don't even care about toilet bowl. I'm not even gonna waste y'all time reading that toilet bowl.
Well, yeah, it's you, it's Trayvon, it's
Trey so bad he got a bye. How are you so bad at fantasy? You get a playoff bye
because we know he would lose. He was that bad this year. He was awful. So it's got to give him a win somehow. He gets a bye week.
Yeah, my bad. You just
but the playoffs are starting. Yes, I am in second place, 13-4. But is anyone going to beat the crazy 88s at 16-1? He's got a solid lineup, and then Pavi right behind me at 12-5. We might be meeting in the postseason.
We're playing next. We're playing next week.
Okay,
and I'm not speaking to you for a week. I'm not speaking to you for a week. I want all the smoke. The smoke.
Because Ashley, let me just tell you who's on my squad. I don't know if here we go. There we go.
Did you drop anybody?
Hopefully he gets healthy. Bradley Beal, Terry Rozier's been balling. Jason Tatum. I got the MVP Jokic. Mitchell Robinson, that hurt when he went down. Jared Allen, Draymond Green. Mason Plumlee's been great. Sadiq Bey, John Wall, Cole Anthony's putting up numbers. And I did pick up Robert Williams, the Time Lord.
I see you got Elfrid Payton on there. I apologize in advance for that.
Yeah, I don't start him. He's just, I miss like the Weekend hairdo that he used to have. I miss that version of Elfrid Payton. Yeah, and then Pavi, what's your team? You think you got a chance to beat me when we face off next week? I mean, assuming we win this year.
I mean, look. So that's my team is different. I have Steph, I have Ja, I have LeVert, I have Joe Harris, Christian Wood, Jeremy Grant, Embiid, Kevin Porter, Nick Claxton, Terrence Ross, Malik Beasley. All those guys are hurt. And I picked up Mo Bamba and Gordon Hayward is hurt. I have to get through this week, but really, I just depend heavily on Steph and Embiid. It's been a great run with Steph recently. It doesn't even matter which game I really pick, but I depend heavily on Steph and Embiid. And then, with all the injuries I have, usually I just, Kevin Porter, Christian Wood's been big for me. LeVert, since he came back, he's been pretty good for me. So we'll see. But I'm confident this week. and hopefully we meet next week.
Hopefully we both win our first round matchup so we can take on face-to-face next week and talk a lot of trash here on Who Got Game. I look forward to that matchup so I can defeat you yet again. We'll see.
Wait, what about Thomas's team where you're not
He's
playing?
terrible.
Toilet bowl.
I'm playing this week, but honestly, I'm in the toilet bowl. My team is trash, and Donovan Mitchell got hurt, so it's over. G.
Yeah,
it's over. G. I'm not even gonna waste
He
y'all
took
time.
him off the board so fast.
No, literally. Look, 5-12. I'm in the toilet bowl. My team, I got Donovan Mitchell, Marcus Smart, D Rose, Kawhi Leonard, Domantas Sabonis, Bojan Bogdanovic, Marc Gasol, Eric Bledsoe, Anthony Edwards, TJ McConnell, Luke Kennard, Daniel House, Markieff Morris, Bismack Biyombo, and Willie Hernan-Gomez. It's just been a rough year.
This year was so weird in fantasy.
You know what,
bro.
Thomas? You should have drafted Tom Thibodeau. You should have drafted Tom Thibodeau.
I bet you he could get them to the playoffs.
Right?
Yeah.
He damn sure would have. If I wish they had coaches in fantasy. I really do. Like I don't know how they would figure that out, but I would love it.
Next year we'll do it. You draft a coach, and you get their record, at the end of the season or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm fine with them adding like +2 points for every win the coach gets, minus for every loss that they. I don't care. I just really feel like if we were talking about coaches last year versus this year, give me Tibbs, man. I've watched this man Tom Thibodeau turn water into wine.
Try to get that added in for next season.
For real.
We'll get you in the league for next year so you can talk trash and beat TPJ head to head. I'd like to see that battle. That'd be fierce. We do have some big games coming up this week in the NBA, in the association. Let's take a look at some of the biggest matchups, including tonight. We got Lakers Jazz is a big one. Blazers Clippers. Damian Lillard versus the Clippers. Are they for real? Sixers Suns. That's a big matchup. I'm looking forward to that one on Wednesday and Thursday night as well. Bucks Sixers. That's a tough back-to-back for Philadelphia right there. Wow. Some big matchups for Philly this week. Some big ones for the Nets. And it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a big week for Kyrie Irving with Harden still out and KD just went down with a thigh contusion. They haven't announced how long he's going to be out. But again, back to full circle where this whole debate and conversation on Who Got Game started, the Nets not being healthy. Durant comes back, he's out again, and someone else has to carry the load. This week,
it's also going to be interesting, that Jazz and Lakers game, because AD and LeBron still won't be back yet for that one. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is out for the Jazz, so it's going to be interesting to see how both these teams are able to pivot and adjust to, one of their stars, or in the Lakers case, two of their stars missing. That's going to be interesting. And again, the Nets, I think you said Celtics, right? The Nets Celtics is going to be interesting as well, because Kevin Durant is out. Who would have thought, though, that Kyrie Irving would be the most durable player on a team? If you would have told me that at the beginning of the season, that he would be more durable than James Harden or Kevin Durant, I would be like, I don't know about that. But Kyrie's proven to be a soldier. I mean, the only time he misses games is when he just doesn't feel like playing. So,
mental hijinks, as TPJ says. Mental hijinks. That's right. Well, thank you guys for bringing your mental hijinks here together for another edition of Who Got Game. We really appreciate the time. Thank you, everyone out there, for watching and listening along with us. We're here every Monday talking all things NBA and fantasy basketball. Next week, Baron Davis will be back again. He's on an airplane right now. Can't keep up with that, man. He's all over the damn place. But he will be back joining us again. And Ashley, we'd love to have you back on throughout the season. TPJ and Pavi, thank you guys for being here. Any final parting words? Something you want to say about Julius Randle's
my final parting word is
Tom Thibodeau for Coach of the Year, Pavi just breaking down the Clippers and all the teams, his MVP race. Any last thoughts?
My final thoughts are go Knicks. I don't think Julius Randle's MVP. I think he's MIP. I would like to see the criteria for MVP be more consistent. I feel like it's a very political award. It's based on favorites. It's not always based on who's the most valuable to their team. I think we need to have a definitive definition on what MVP in the NBA actually means. I think it's been all over the place for the past few years, and I think that's why people feel like, it doesn't mean as much as it maybe used to. So with all those awards, I would like them to be less political and just more about the stats and the game itself. That goes for them across the board, truthfully. That's how I feel.
I agree with that. I'd like a standard definition that we all can use for the debate to talk about and for the people who vote, because it really means something different to everyone else. Yeah. Pavi, any final thoughts?
Go get songs about women at midnight.
Nice. Okay. Where can they find it? Where can they get it?
On every streaming platform that you can imagine that you would want to listen to music on. So that's Apple, Spotify. You can go to SoundCloud, Audio Mac, all of that stuff. Songs
what about Alexa?
Yeah, you can pull up on Alexa. It's on because Alexa's Amazon Music. So yeah, it's on there.
Got it.
Songs about women at midnight. Go check it out.
Perfect. All right. Put it in my calendar right now. We got that. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
TPJ, any last words?
Yeah, man, this has been an unfortunate season for the NBA due to injuries. I think that the fact that we're even having, or that we even had a full-blown argument about Julius Randle being the NBA MVP just goes to show how really unfortunate the amount of injuries and how much I truly believe that they have like dampened the product this year. Because even a guy like AD, you know, LeBron is a guy where I've been looking for him to fall off forever, but he's just not going. I think LeBron literally just gonna have to like completely go out sad. Like he's not gonna stop until he goes out sad. And I really believe that. I've told Pavi I believe LeBron can play till 50. It just sucks to not see him out there, not see AD out there, not see guys like LaMelo out there, to see Jamal Murray hurt, to see Donovan Mitchell get injured, to see Gordon Hayward get. It's been so many injuries. And COVID and watching games where every game is 20, 30, 40 point blowout. I just hope that this playoffs is one of the most exciting playoffs we've ever seen, because I think as fans, we've really had to really buckle down and be on this journey with the NBA through this season. And I hope that, you know, the players appreciate that, and the fans, like, I give you all a huge applause, because I'm a media member, and it's been times where I've been like, man, this is taking forever, or this is whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll end on a hopeful note. You know, fans are coming back in LA. Now all NBA arenas, fans are entering by the postseason. There'll be more and more fans safely attending games, bringing back that energy and that atmosphere in every different arena around the league. And I'm really excited about that, because the NBA without fans is not really the NBA. Those moments are made bigger based on the fans and the experience of all of us who are there witnessing these great athletes play their best basketball. And the best is yet to come as guys are getting healthier and the playoffs are right around the corner. So thank you everyone again for joining us for another edition of Who Got Game. Make sure to download, like, subscribe, do all the things you know what to do, and join us here every week. We'll be back next Monday with another edition of Who Got Game with Baron Davis, and I'm Jason Zone Fisher. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, everybody. Peace.
The streets when it's safe. Focus on the rap game, now the flow, I got it